Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about Cosmoctopus. It actually doesn't come with that song. That's just something I made up right here. We did not rehearse that. So anyway, this is designed by Henry Audubon and is published by Lucky Duck Games.
We were fortunate enough to get a chance to go to a Lucky Duck event where they released Cosmoctopus, and we pledged allegiance to the great Inky One, Cosmoctopus. And in that way, we were brought into the cult of the great Inky One. So basically what's happening is you, in this game, are doing that very thing. You are trying to summon the great Inky One, the Cosmoctopus, by playing all these cards. There's 4 different kinds of cards. Each one has different effects. You're going to gather resources and ultimately gather enough tentacles to summon the great Inky One.
Great Inky One.
Let me give you a quick overview of how to play. Here's our setup for Cosmoctopus. In the middle of the table, we have kind of a board made up out of 9 tiles. Some of the tiles are going to provide resources, others are going to let you draw some cards, and there's always 1 special tile per game. There's a total of 4 of these special tiles. You're going to shuffle them up at the beginning of the game, and you are going to deal 1 of them out. In this case, the special tile I have over here says, discard the card row, then take a card from the new row. So basically, those are the card row over there. On your turn, if you have an opportunity to draw a card, you can either draw from the face-up cards or from the draw deck. The whole point of the game is to try to get tentacles. These are our tentacles over here, and we are trying to summon Cosmoctopus by adding 8 tentacles onto our own personal little player board over here. The first person to get 8 of those tentacles is declared the winner. They have summoned Cosmoctopus. The game ends immediately at that point. Alright, so on your turn, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to be able to move Cosmoctopus 1 space. Alright, so we can move it 1 space orthogonally. If we move it there, it means we're going to be able to draw 3 of these resources and put them into our supply. Now we have a limit of 8 on everything. Now there's a limit of 8 of the 4 different resources and a limit of 8 cards in your hand. As you can see, we're kind of following that octopus theme a little bit more here. Alright, so you do not draw a card at any point during your turn unless you land on a spot or take an action that allows you to. Alright, so after you've moved Cosmoctopus, the great Inky One, and you've taken whatever resources or benefits from the tiles on the board, you have the option of playing a card from your hand. You don't have to, but you can if you have the resources to and you want to do it. There's a lot of different cards in the game, but there's 4 basic kind of different styles of cards. So the first one, these black cards here, these generally allow you to have kind of built-in resources. This particular one is going to cost 2 of the black resources plus 2 of any other resource. This is a generic resource symbol. But once you have it down, it basically have 2 of those yellow resources built in. Speaking of yellows, we have this style of card as well. These also stay out in front of you the whole game. Again, the cost is on the top left. And it'll give you some kind of other benefit besides just built-in resources. This particular one says, whenever you take this style of resource, you're going to get some extras as well. Then we have these red cards. These red cards are kind of these instants. These happen right away, and they are usually pretty strong, but they also go away. They don't stay out there for the rest of the game. This particular one is pretty expensive. It costs 5 of the red resource plus 3 more generics. This lightning bolt means you get to play another card if you're able to, but then you're going to be able to do whatever this says. This particular one says, gain 5 of the black resources plus take all the cards from the card row. Drawing cards is a really strong ability in this game, so this is a very great card. And the last card I want to show you, these kind of green cards, these basically are they're going to be one of the main ways that you get tentacles. Alright, so you have to play it down in front of you by paying the resources at the top or left, as always. But then, what's going to happen is you have to fill out the resources on the card in the direction of the arrows. And you also cannot use the resources that you're in your personal supply. This has to be on future turns when you gain resources. So let's say on the next turn you play, you gain one of these resources, you'll be able to place it on top of that card. Again, if you gain a red resource later, you'll place it there. Again, you cannot use the ones you have in your supply. It has to be new ones that you've taken. Once the entire card is filled up, then you're going to discard the card and take whatever benefits are at the bottom. It's always going to have at least a tentacle, maybe some additional things as well. This one lets you draw some cards once you finish it off. This particular one says you have to fill out the red first, but then the other 3 you can do in any order. So there's multiple ways that these can work. But this one also costs 8 of the green resources. There is a really handy player aid over here. So basically, we have this icon chart here that shows the black cards are called scripture cards, and their corresponding resources is ink. We have the yellow cards are relic cards, and their corresponding resources is coins. And it has all the different symbols that you might come across on there. And you also have a smaller card as well that each player is going to get. It's going to be very helpful to you. I mentioned that the main way of getting the tentacles is through those green cards, but also there's a couple other different ways as well. Every once in a while you'll come across a red card that provides a tentacle whenever you complete them, so this is going to be a strong ability. Also, we have these forbidden knowledge tiles across the left side over here. Those say basically all 4 different resources and a number of 13. You can pay 13 resources in order to buy one of these different items. Now, it's kind of hard to do because you have a limit of 8 at the end of each turn. So you might have to have 8 at the end of your next turn of, let's say, the green resource, and then the next turn gain 5 somehow, and then you'll be able to spend all 13 of those in order to take that. And that's going to provide 2 tentacles, which is really, really strong. Also, the first person to complete one of the tentacles is going to be able to take their choice of those 4 bonus cards. They're only going to be able to choose one of them, but they get first pick. And the second person who completes their first tentacle gets the second choice, etc., etc. And those are basically free cost of cards that go directly into your hand that you can play on later turns. And they are really strong. Some give a tentacle, some give an extra resource, all the normal things that you'd find from the regular cards, just for free. And that's really all there is to the game. So basically, you're going to start by turn by moving Cthulhu. You are going to take whatever actions are on the tile it is at. You have the option of playing a card down in front of you, taking whatever resources or benefits that it gives you, discarding down to 8 at the end of your turn on any of the resources or on cards themselves. And at the end of the turn, what you're going to do is you're going to rotate Cosmoctopus to face the next person in turn order. And again, the game is going to end once one player has 8 tentacles in front of them. The game ends immediately and they are declared the winner. There's also a cooperative version of the game or a solo version of the game, but I'll let you kind of explore that on your own.
I thought the theme to this game was incredibly cheeky, and I was totally here for it. I absolutely loved it. But one of the things that makes a theme great in a game is when the theme helps you understand the gameplay, and I thought even though the theme was cute and cheeky, it actually made sense when it came to the gameplay. So I really liked that you could have that and have it make sense to the actions that you're taking as well. So I really liked that.
I agree. I thought like this kind of cutesy take on Cthulhu was really fun. We've all seen a bunch of Cthulhu games, but like this like cute Cthulhu that's still like all powerful or whatever, just is adorable, was a lot of fun. I think that one of the design choices that Henry Audubon made was all the numbers in the game are based off of the Fibonacci sequence, which was just a really funny and interesting design choice because that's this idea that there's, if you don't know what the Fibonacci sequence is, it's basically 2 numbers in a sequence added together to make the third number in the sequence. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. So then you go to 2 plus 3 equals 5. And then 3 plus 5 equals 8. And so on and so forth. So I thought that was a really fun way to kind of make the numbers fit this kind of almost mystical world and kind of feeding into this summoning of the great Inky One. I thought that was a really fun design choice.
I also really like the constellations. It's the main way that you summon the tentacles. It's the main way that you get Cosmoctopus to come to you. There are other ways to do it, but this is the main way to do it. But why I like it is because it took time. Like, you had to play that card, and then you had to get the resources to play on that card. So that way you could summon the tentacle. And when other people had theirs out, you kind of knew what was happening. You could see where people were. I remember one of the games that we had, Ryan just had like so many out, and so he would just go to places and fill a ton out at the same time, and I'm like, I don't like what's happening over there. You're gonna get the great Inky One before me. He totally did in that game too. Anyway, I just really liked how the constellation worked, how that card worked. Like, you're working on this thing and you're still trying to work on this thing.
All right, so there's a lot of different ways to play this game, which I think gives you a lot of kind of bang for your buck. The main way is just the competitive way, right? It's a race to get to the 8 tentacles. But there's also a cooperative mode and a solo mode. And there's also variable ways to set things up too. So lots of different ways to play Cosmoctopus. So that way you get a lot more game per game.
Yeah, I really liked this. I thought it was super fun. I had a lot of fun with it. It might have overstayed its welcome for me personally, just a little bit, like maybe 5-10% at the end of the gameplay. But besides that, it was cheeky, it was cute, it made sense, and I really enjoyed it.
I do have one small thing to mention, which it's specifically the 2-player game. I felt a little bit constrained by the border full of tiles. You could never end up on the same and take the action of the place where Cosmoctopus started. And in a 2-player game, if there's a spot you want, it's starting on that spot, and then you have to move it off that spot. But then your opponent might then move it right back onto that spot, take the cool thing that you've been trying to get to, and on your turn, then you have to, again, move it off, and then they might move it back on. Maybe not eternally, but still enough times to where whatever you're working on, you're not able to do because you're just waiting for them to get off of that spot, and they just never do. So that's a weird constraint that I had, specifically the 2-player game. And more than that, it kind of bounces around quite a bit more, so you have more options and more things that you might be able to see. So overall, I agree. I had a great time with this thing. I think it was cute. I thought it kind of, the engine building kind of worked really well for me. I love engine building games, and this had a cool system for it. The 4 different kinds of cards all were very clear, and they all had their own kind of categories of how they worked. Overall, if you like the engine building, you like that theme that we've talked about, check out Cosmoctopus.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye. And bye, great Inky One.
You guys, thanks so much for watching. This game was provided to us by a publisher in exchange for a fair and honest review.
And if you want to see more stuff, check out over here to see something we think you might like.
And over here, we think that YouTube has picked out a great video for you you're going to love. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.